Hey y'all, Happy New Year. Welcome back to Spirit Journey. Just like to share spiritual knowledge from experience. Sorry, I got some traffic doing some weird shit in front of me. It broke up my intro. Anyway, just wanted to jump on here and wish everybody Happy New Year. It's even though it's the Gregorian New Year, which is where we break the calendar 12 months, because Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar wanted their names, etched in everybody's memory somehow. But anyway, regardless of that, this is when we celebrate it. It's a beautiful thing. We need to make it about companionship, about love, about new growth, about fertility, about nurturement. Nature and nurture, man. That's what it's all about. That's what the organic being thrives from. Nature and nurture. So, make it all about you and your life, your loved ones, your family. Not all the external crap and not all the stuff outside of your immediate network either, because the new year is all about grounding. It's about getting grounded. It's honing in on what you know, what you feel is right for you and your family, regardless of where you're at in life, because people that have connections to you love to grant themselves some kind of authority that allows them to dictate portions of your life for you. That way they feel like, they're only looking out for your best interests. They're only they're only saying such and such because they love you and things like that. That's usually not the case. It's usually much more subconsciously rooted, and it's just simply things that they don't. Usually, it's not always the case, but it's usually things that they just don't want associated with them. And if you're associated with them, then they don't want you to do certain things because it might make them look or be perceived in a certain light. And that is not organic truth. That steers people away from their authenticity. Even if it's things that are just going to lead to lessons that need to be learned for the grounding of growth, because people just telling you stuff doesn't really ground anything. You have to integrate it. You have to embody. The saying, be the change you want to see. But you have to embody that change that you want to see. You have to embody the being that you want to be. And you have to be able to discern your greater good, the greater good for your path, and not let others with all their perceptions, because they just live life based on what their mommy and daddy told them and based on whatever belief system they got placed into or they chose, or I should say born into, or that they chose, whatever worked for them for whatever part of life they were in. So that is all inauthentic. It's not, it's hearsay. It's doing what someone else thinks is best. It's not finding out for yourself. It's not doing what you think, feel, or know is best. Unless, you just operate on that feeling of whatever your authority people say, that's what you do. Those are called yes people. They people pleasers. They just want to walk through life pleasing everybody. And, hang on a second. Man, don't cut me off. What the hell's wrong with you, cuz? Glowing wheels. That's alright. He passes everybody just about every morning, so it wasn't a shocking experience. But, anyway, just, you gotta get grounded, man. I've got to get grounded. I'm not speaking beyond anything that, beyond my experience, because I go through it, everybody goes through it, and so we just got to get right with ourselves. And I do not say this stuff because I want people to perceive me as a know-it-all. I say this stuff because I've been through a lot of shit because of everything I just talked about. External people trying to dictate my personal life, external people granting themselves authorities that they do not have, just because they feel like they should have it because they have some kind of title. It doesn't work that way. For any of y'all that listen to my videos or still try to monitor me for whatever behavioral things that y'all get into, it's just a coping mechanism for you to focus on someone else's life instead of your own. You know, for y'all, the extended family of myself, you know, I don't. There's no part of my life that is yielded to any of y'all's beliefs or any of y'all's perceptions or values. Only my own and the things that I've learned and the things that I value that I've learned from y'all as growing up. You know, I come from a very diverse background that taught me a lot about what not to do, a lot about what does not work, and you know, so I'm just gonna go with that. My knowledge, training, and experience throughout my studies of the human anatomy, my studies, you know, of neuroscience, my studies of quantum physics, my studies, you know, and then all my training through emergency services and all of my medical stuff and dealing with energetics. And for many, many years, my world revolved around trauma and helping others get through it, get through the traumas of life. And but when I started offering my help in this method, people had a lot of problems with it because it didn't come with notoriety. I wasn't promoting my book for sales, and I wasn't doing all this stuff that's just business focused, professional focused, and that's not my motivation. That's the worst thing that's happened to creation, is that mindset. So my focus is about centering the organic being, embracing companionship, embracing love, actual authentic love, which is simply the unconditional acceptance of your chosen one, based in or grounded in respect, and then with trust built upon that, so that growth can happen, you know, so nurturement can happen. And you know, that's what love is. It's not a dictatorship. It's not making sure that everybody's following your rules, because your rules are only good for your life. So, you know, when it comes to bringing in the new year and grounding some good energy, turn your focus back to your own self. Look at where you sacrificed yourself because you needed to impress a boss, you needed to impress family members, you needed to impress whoever so you could gain acceptance. You needed to gain acceptance, so you had to fit the part. You had to make the cut. You had to do a bunch of shit that you never would have normally done if it wouldn't have been for the motivation of making the grade, getting the image, getting the data boy, getting the raise, getting the money, you know, getting whatever the gratification of material gain is. That way it announces to the rest of the outside world, look, I'm a good person. God must love me because I've got a nice car, I got a nice job, I got nice clothes, and I promise you, God don't give a shit about any of that stuff. None of it. But if you just choose to think that God does, and I mean, I'm speaking of God, source, creator, not God, the entitled being, you know, that embodies a certain frequency. In other words, not ancient politics, but but actual creation. That's what I mean when I say God. I mean creation source. And that is not the nurturement that source puts into this creation is not being met the way it should be, because people are so distracted trying to people please other people so they can get ahead in this very inorganic social system that we've networked on top of an organic creation. Everybody lives based on the social structure instead of the truth of the organic being, and that's created a lot of problems. And people's not going to realize what level of problems until they really get into their own being, start meditating, tapping into those heart rhythms, connecting the Trinity, emotional body, mental body, physical body. You connect that as one body and then move forward. That's it's been my experience, and I've got over a quarter of a century in experiencing the things that I'm speaking of. So anyway, I'm not going to keep rambling on about that, because I want to put that out there to establish the grounding, and now shift it back to a positive and realize that everybody outside of you and outside of your immediate family network that is placing demand upon you, those are all things that take from your energy, that take from you. So, in other words, it has a negative impact directly on your metabolic functions. It opens the doorway for all kind of other problems to step in. If you get centered within yourself, and you go through these stages of growth where you gotta go through the dark night of the soul. You gotta face your emotional body. You gotta look at where the scarring is. Look at where you let yourself down because you're trying to please someone else, and and look at how your life is dictated now, still based on pleasing others. It's one thing to meet obligations. It's another thing to relinquish your free will to the gratification of other people that just want to use you as a trophy figure that waves a flag of who they are. People living vicariously through you instead of just accepting you for who you are, how you choose to be, all that good stuff. They tend to not do that. But it's just control mechanisms and things like that help them feel or maintain a feeling of empowerment. But anyway, throw that shit out the door. It only means something to them, and you got to work through those connections or those what's the right word? Meat hooks. People get their meat hooks in you. Figure of speech, of course, because that's really a disturbing saying. But it can make you feel like that through your emotional body and the problems that it generates inside of you. Because when your emotional body gets completely dysregulated, then it creates all kind of other problems. Your mindset shifts to the negative that your emotional body's in, and then your emotional body becomes worn on the outside of you, getting battered by the world, and it shouldn't be. It should be centered within you, owned by you, and should be, experiences, amplified of free will, that kind of thing, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Anyway, I'm going to hop off here because destination is almost reached, but I do want everybody to have a happy new year, and I'm saying all those things because that's what you got to get through in order to really tap into yourself, where you can start having the absolute best, most authentic, amazing sex of your life. Make the most beautiful love, and when that happens, it nurtures the entire environment around you, and it is absolutely majestically beautiful. So I want everybody to be able to get grounded in that, rock out with the beautiful gift of life, enjoy the spirit, sparate, the sacred breath. It's living light, man. You're breathing living light. It's absolutely beautiful. And the sexual expression, the sexual motivation, that is all things that are just magic waiting to be embodied. So anyway, y'all, peace, one love, one light. Rock out with it. Later.